possibly this has simply been due, as Mrs. Shapiro has indicated, to the difficulty of communication, and that we have tried not to do more than to keep him informed in the most general way.
Mr. Donovan, were you or any members of the board dissatisfied with the interim plan put forth by Dr. Gross?
Well, I think a fair statement would be that Dr. Gross himself was not satisfied with that. He indicated that in its very publication that this was not being made as a final report of any kind. He did try to indicate all the various areas that could be considered, and he asked for constructive criticism from all groups in the community. We scheduled a series of hearings. We've held these hearings. We've had hundreds of proposals made to us. Now, all these had to be evaluated, and fortunately, this has not taken the time that it might have if, for the first time, we were looking at this problem. Actually, for some years, we've been studying this problem, and we could move this rapidly, but it's not a hasty move in any manner. Every one of these problems are matters that we've been over for years, and it was a question of giving everyone a fair opportunity to be heard. Dr. Senior.
In answer to Mr. Mihalik's question, Mrs. Shapiro wrote a letter to another newspaper, which Mr. Mihalik probably doesn't read.
Please distinguish between the Board of Education and the Superintendent of Schools. We set policy. The superintendent and his staff administer the school system. I constantly have been reading articles. Board negotiating with UFT and this and that. It's absurd. The board didn't negotiate with the UFT. No member of this board ever sat in on those discussions. The negotiations were carried on by the superintendent of schools and his staff. Now, I'm just trying to explain to you that we must rely for detailed implementation on their recommendations, and they have informed us that this is as far as they can go now, that using these criteria, which we have specified, they will make these selections and recommendations to us by March 16th.
In other words, they know there are 27 schools. No, they must have.
As to this, and the staff even more. They worked until 3 o'clock this morning getting out this, actually, and I was here till 8 last night, and for us to have conducted all the hearings that we did, hear every citywide organization, invite all the men, sit down with all manner of people, and then finally come up with a plan, I think that everyone ought to be reasonably satisfied that the most has been done that can be humanly done. Now, we are not going to be high-pressured into what could be an unfortunately precipitous move at the expense of the children until we're assured that our decisions will be informed decisions, and until we receive the further data from the superintendent of schools and his staff, there is no way we can make informed decisions.
Mr. Donovan, if I read this correctly, one change in emphasis has been away from reliance on community
suggestions. This board is responsible for establishing these policies citywide, and we have listened to everyone.
Well, in addition, we said that there will be the fullest consultation with local school boards and the...
With respect to why the specific schools are not being announced today, as Mr. Garrison has said, a proper orderly procedure and a desire not to destroy community fabrics that are in existence dictate that after the staff have made their surveys, have their facts sufficiently lined up, there then will be consultation with these local groups in every case before we announce the selections. Shifting ethnic distributions of population in the city of New York